welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Angel Baby Cairo. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go follow me on Instagram and TikTok and now Substack, which I did a poll on the community tab and you guys voted for this video instead of the Selkie AI video. So here we are doing it. So today we're going to be talking about why is Coquette Talk always calling Lana del Rey coquette? Is Lana del Rey actually coquette? And what is the coquette aesthetic? So recently Lana posted a picture on her Instagram of her like in a hoodie and a snapback, like skateboarding on the beach, and I commented Lana's in her peaked in high school era because it just reminded me of those guys that peaked in high school, right? And you know, a lot of people found it funny, but some people felt the need to message me, harass me, comment on my Instagram post telling me that me and my unborn baby should be unalive. So that was great. The fact that I didn't even say anything negative and the fact that like I'm a fan of Lana's music, it doesn't make sense to me why people took it so personally. Like someone messaged me saying like, you're being rude to Lana, and I'm like, it's literally a fucking joke. Like, you can calm the fuck down. And it's always the people, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent, it's always the people with the Bible verses in their bio are like the worst people. If you follow me on TikTok, you probably saw my rant on it. It's just ridiculous. And I know it's not like every single person has a Bible verse in their bio, but it's like 90%, I would say, the majority. So that was fine and totally not stressful on me in my pregnancy. There's literally people being like, oh, she's in her snapback era, or like people were making other comments. People were like actually leaving hate comments, and I feel like mine was the least hateful. It was a joke, like, you know, the other picture of her after the Grammys and she's like holding a Glock. There were so many comments on that one. I never really comment on Lana's photos or her Instagram. I barely just started following her because I saw that she was unprivated, yeah, and I follow her because I followed the Love Witch and she got her channel back. I don't know if you guys know, but she got her channel like struck down for whatever, it was like a random reason, but she's back. So if you guys know the Love Witch, shout out to the Love Witch because I love watching her videos. If you guys want to follow me on Substack and also read it, I'm taking a lot of the video from my Substack and what I wrote out. I want to write more on Substack. It's just been like super hard for me to be consistent, but I just want to put it out there. Like, if you're leaving hate comments, not even hate comments, like just like nasty, vile comments, and you expect me to be nice to you, like, don't expect that, because I'm not going to be nice to you. I'm going to defend myself. Of course, now I'm going to defend my baby. So take out what you can, dish back. You know what I mean? Like, if you're being so gross and vile, I'm going to let you know that you're being gross and vile. Then I'm going to block you. I'm going to report you. And people on TikTok are always like, oh my god, you blocked me for calling you out. No, I blocked you because you're fucking annoying and I don't need that right now. And the fact that you guys come back on my account on a different account, it just shows it's just giving obsessed. So I just want to put that out there because it's been super fucking annoying dealing with that when I just want to create content and create videos, and it's just too much, you know, and I'm not dealing with it while I'm pregnant. So that is that. So let's just get into the video. Sorry for the rant and the tangent, but I needed to get that out there because I don't know why people think they can just treat me like shit and I'm not gonna respond and then gaslight me and be like, I'm the one that's the bad person. No, honey, you came onto my channel, you came onto my TikTok and you started harassing me, so you're gonna get that shit back. So if you've ever scrolled on TikTok, which is like a fucking hellhole, you'll eventually most likely stumble upon a Lana Del Rey audio. Well, not anymore, so because UMG took down basically all of Lana's audios and people keep like re-uploading it. They're really strict on it, to be honest, and it freaking sucks, and it's like pushing me towards Instagram Reels more because they still have a lot of the audios. It's either like a snippet or sped up or even slowed down on TikTok. Maybe it's like an edit of the film Alita, and your For You page is now filled with like lace and pink and cherubs and all that other stuff, ballet core, vintage kind of aesthetic, just a lot of white and cherubic. Is that a word? You guys know what I mean. You guys have seen Coquette on TikTok, and you guys probably have seen all the Pinterest boards of Coquette. So Lana's associated heavily, if not is the poster child of the Coquette aesthetic. I want to make a point that aesthetics, from what I've seen and what I've gathered for the past like 4 years since it's become more popular to have an aesthetic or have core, is that it's just that an aesthetic is just the superficiality of looks and presentation. I feel like this is a different video in itself about subcultures and the death of subcultures, how aesthetics are not subcultures. That's for a different video. But so insert word here plus aesthetic. And since like 2020, since the keyword year, we've seen the rise of aesthetics and cores, and they're heavily curated on Instagram. You got like people on Instagram that's their whole feed is dedicated to being coquette, to being clean girl, to being whatever. And it seems that we have created the ideation of what a coquette woman would wear, even though obviously it can pertain to any gender. But this is the definition of coquette. So it says plural coquette, synonyms of coquette, and the first definition is a woman who endeavors without sincere affection to gain the attention and admiration of men. And the example is, book brought to mind a true southern coquette, flashy and sweet and alluring all at the same time. So the definition of coquette, when you look it up, doesn't really describe the aesthetics or even like imply that coquette is an aesthetic. It's more of how a woman behaves, and I guess it also translates to how she looks. I guess assuming that because she wants to gain the attention of men, she will dress a certain way that is appealing to men, which may be like lacy and frilly things, but that's really debatable. So it seems like we just like to put, for example, coquette plus aesthetic equals pink bows, frilly dresses, cherubs, and lots of lace. And we do this with cores as well, like kid core, ballet core, and more recently office siren core. I don't even understand why that is a thing, but it's a thing now apparently. So we're gonna be talking about Lolita and vintage Americana. So if you know anything about Lana, especially when she first came out into the public eye, having a fully created image, and we're gonna talk about her pre Born to Die era after this, but her Born to Die era was very vintage Americana. Lolita, obviously she has a song called Lolita on the album, and her debut album Born to Die talks about being an American and wanting to go to Bel Air. Her early aesthetics consisted of 60s and retro inspired makeup and outfits. She also remakes a televised scene of Marilyn Monroe singing to President Kennedy completely in black and white in her song / music video National Anthem, which I remember watching this the first time and I thought it was like so cool, and she's just like replicating like a very historic moment for Americans and American pop culture history. And if we look at the Americana aesthetic, we find that it can cross over with the coquette aesthetic because it is a sub-style for coquette or of coquette.
Lana del Rey isn't coquette. Well, obviously, if this is your definition of coquette, then she isn't coquette. That's true, but this isn't actually coquette at all. There are lots of sub-aesthetics in the coquette aesthetic. This isn't actually one of them at all. Hyperfemininity is its own thing and is basically what you know as the bow trend. Many people think that this bow trend and the fashion around it is coquette, but it's not. The only thing that matches is there are bows in both. For example, the style I'm wearing is vintage Americana, which is a sub-style of coquette. Now that you know what coquette actually is, here are some examples of why Lana del Rey is very obviously coquette, or at least was. And I know a lot of people will hate on me and say, this isn't coquette at all. It is. If you disagree, then you just like coquette because it's a trend now. Sorry. Bye.
And when I think of coquette, I think of the color pink and white. When I think of Americana, I think of like red mostly and maybe white. Coquette is English borrowed from French in / around the mid 17th century, and has since evolved in meaning in today's 2024 American vernacular. So obviously the meaning has changed a lot, which I feel like that's just, I don't know, I'm not a linguistic, what do you call someone? I'm not familiar with linguistics, okay? I'm just assuming that's kind of what happens with linguistics, like meanings of things change over time the more people use different words and adapt it to their own vernacular or how they usually talk and incorporate into daily life. And I wanted to note that at first what is now considered a coquette used to be called nymphette, and some people still call it nymphette, but not a lot of people do. I've seen it sometimes, like people who are heavily in the coquette aesthetic on Instagram that just dedicate their whole feed to coquette still kind of call it nymphette. But however, due to of course the internet and its sexualization of young girls, it became synonymous with So because of this, a lot of the people who partook in this aesthetic of nymphette rebranded to coquette or dollette, which is another substyle of the coquette aesthetic. So I feel like coquette is like the main big umbrella, and then under it's like all these smaller little branches, if that makes sense. That's how I kind of see it. So on TikTok, people like to use Lolita as a way to describe Lana, and I think it's probably mostly due to the fact that she has a song, like I mentioned earlier, called Lolita. And if you don't know, Lolita is a novel written by Vladimir Nabokov, who was a Russian-American writer, and of course this novel came out in 1955, which seems to be heavy influence on Lana in her earlier music, like Lolita era. I would say like the 50s and 60s seems to be a big influence on her. And the book itself is controversial because of its contents of hebephilia. It would eventually be a film in 1962 and then be redone in 1997. I've seen clips of the 1962 version just because people make so many edits about it, but I've never watched the movie or read the novel because I feel like I'd be super uncomfortable reading it, and I just don't want to partake in that. Now we're going to talk about Lana before Lana. So if you're familiar with any of the Lana Del Rey lore, you know of Sparkle Jump Rope Queen in Lana Del Rey, aka Lizzie Grant. Only scraps of her unreleased demos are out, and tapes are up on SoundCloud and even sometimes YouTube, but sometimes they get taken down. And snippets of Put Me in a Movie went viral on TikTok, and one of my favorites is Mermaid Motel, which was also a trending audio like a couple summers before on TikTok. A lot of Lana's older unreleased audios tend to be the ones that are like snippeted and remixed with like other movie lines, and I feel like a lot of people find her unreleased music because of that. I know Korean Disaster is like one that's still trending, like the instrumental to it still trending on Instagram Reels. I forgot what the other one, Say Yes to Heaven, was one that was really popular to the point that she just released it, so I'm so glad that she released Say Yes to Heaven. And the mashup of like her unreleased and other songs are almost always paired with someone showing their coquette outfit, their coquette makeup, their room, things like of that nature. So arguably this may be the start of Lana's Americana era, in which she delves into familiar things like the trailer park and going to motels. And even the cover, if you look at Lana Del Rey, aka Lizzie Grant cover, it doesn't scream coquette. There's nothing that she's wearing that would say, yeah, that's coquette to me. It looks more edgy. Her bedazzled top and like her kind of like bomber jacket, varsity jacket, is also like not screaming coquette. It screams more of like 2010s Windsor tops and like a borrowed boyfriend's varsity jacket, but still people say this is like so coquette, which like confuses me. Finally, we're gonna talk about Lana's current aesthetic, which is kind of leading more towards, I guess, coquette and more just it's so hard to describe, but if you guys know The Love Witch, it's basically like kind of like her aesthetic, even though Lana has said herself that she's not really fashionable, because I'm sure she has stylists and she said this before, I believe in an interview, but she likes this and if you see her like out and just like paparazzi, she's usually just wearing plain shirts or jeans or shorts, you know, so there's that. And if we look at her more recent work like Blue Banisters and Did You Know There's a Tunnel Underneath Ocean Boulevard and her newest campaign with Skims, it seems like Lana is getting back to her Americana, fatale, feminine root, even with her announcing that her album's going to be country, her newest album that's not out yet. A lot of people are making TikToks like putting on their cowboy boots and being like, well, if Lana Del Rey is country, I'm country now. I feel like that's again going to the Americana folky kind of thing. Even with Chemtrails, it was still kind of folky, which I really loved a lot, and this cover just screamed 50s country club, 60s country club. The Chemtrails Over the Country Club music video was also really, really cute, and just I love everything that she incorporates into the visuals, and everything looks really like cohesive and cute. And I think Lana embraces her femininity as well as her dark side, as we see in her music is sometimes very raw and pretty dark sometimes. Like, especially I feel like Ultraviolence is one of her most toxic albums. That's just my opinion, but I feel like that's one of her most toxic albums. From her Born to Die era, we have seen her grow into a much more happier Lana, that feels more light, but of course she still, has that angst sometimes, but she seems to feel like a lot more free. I feel like that kind of coincides more with the Americana aesthetic, like Americans, freedom, things like that. But of course, Born to Die will always be iconic, but the growth will never be matched from like her recent bodies of work. And I feel like Lana's at the point where she just wants to make music that she likes, even like doesn't really care if it does well by the standards, even though she got snubbed so many times at the Grammys. We're not going to talk about it. I think with every artist, they go through eras of experimentation, and Lana even had discourse about her Blue Banister's initial cover art looking like a Pixar cover, like it was made on Pixar, and it was this whole thing. Pixar even made like a frame that was like inspired by Lana. I just think she's just like, she just doesn't care, like she's doing her thing, especially now that she's gotten to the height, like really pinnacle of career. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who Lana Del Rey is, and I think she's able to be at this point where she doesn't have to release such a curated persona like Born to Die. Now she can do things that are more vulnerable and that are more like autobiographical. I can't speak, when she's talking more about herself, and I feel like that's what we got from Blue Banisters. Did you know there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? I think the most recent Skims campaign that she did, a collaboration, that is super coquette. I think that's really cute with the ribbons and the bows, the frilliness of the lingerie. I think that's really, really cute, and I feel like that's very, very coquette. So I think it's just a lot of just cultural things that we've become accustomed to is why Lana's coquette. Do I think Lana Del Rey necessarily fits under the coquette aesthetic? I feel like maybe like the femness of her can be with the coquette aesthetic. I feel like her music really fits like the sound of what you think coquette person would like, something like ballady, something kind of, raw, with the instrumentals. But I do think I understand the appeal of coquette talk, and people who are coquette, why they love Lana so much is because she embraces both her femininity, her femness, and her darker side of a femme fatale, if that makes any sense. And whatever you categorize Lana, it's no doubt that she has unintentionally categorized herself in a popular, misunderstood aesthetic. I feel like it's also a thing of like, I just prefer not to box people in, especially if they have not said anything themselves. Like, everyday Lana is probably not considered coquette, but just herself in just a few snippets that we've seen of her music videos, of the visuals that she had, especially with chemtrails, about what she sings about in her songs. I feel like that pertains mostly to coquette. If coquette were a subculture, I think it would be Lana. But I know this video was kind of all over the place. I hope it made kind of a little bit of sense. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Lana Del Rey is coquette? I feel like she's more Americana, vintage kind of aesthetic more than the traditional coquette aesthetic. I guess it doesn't really matter because she puts out good music anyways, and the shoots that she does and her visuals are always so beautiful and pretty. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what I missed, because I feel like I missed a lot, but I wanted to just put this video out there. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.
I don't know, yeah, you act like you know everything, or you say you can't feel a single thing, say you didn't feel it when you kissed me. Why